Larry Caputo, a popular Long Island medium known for her simplicity and compassion, recently stood by her ex-husband Larry Caputo during a difficult time. Larry Caputo's second wife's twins are currently hospitalized with serious illness. In such a situation, Larry is deeply worried about his children. However, Larry Caputo stood by her ex-husband and compassionately visited the hospital so she could see her children and help boost Larry's morale. Larry's sincere sympathy and cooperation is truly unique, proving that the space for love and compassion in relationships never ends. Larry Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, had always been known for her simplicity, warmth, and compassion. Though her marriage to Larry Caputo had ended years ago, the bond between them remained strong, rooted not only in their shared history but also in mutual respect and care. One afternoon, Larry received a call that struck her heart. Larry's second wife, Connie Talley, had called to inform him that her twins, Charlie and Lucy, had been rushed to the hospital after falling seriously ill. Larry, beside himself with worry, struggled to stay strong for the children and Connie. His concern was overwhelming, his emotions raw. He needed help, not just as a father, but as a man who was uncertain of how to navigate such a heart-wrenching situation. Without hesitation, Larry knew what she had to do. Despite the years that had passed since her divorce from Larry, she still held a deep sense of empathy for him and his family. Larry understood the power of presence and knew that in such a difficult time, the smallest gestures of kindness could make the world of difference. She drove to the hospital, her heart filled with a mixture of sadness and hope. When she arrived, she found Larry pacing nervously outside the children's room. Connie, who had been trying to stay strong, looked visibly exhausted. "Hey, how are they doing?" Larry asked, walking up to Larry, her voice calm and soothing. Larry didn't need words to express his worry, the look in his eyes said it all. He nodded slowly, grateful for her presence. "I don't know what to do, Larry. I feel like I'm losing them." Larry smiled softly, her gaze unwavering. She placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "They're fighters, Larry, and they're not alone. They have you, they have Connie, and they have all of us. I'm here, not just for them, but for you too." Larry, overwhelmed by her support, felt a weight lift off his shoulders. It wasn't about the past, it wasn't about their relationship anymore. It was about people coming together in love when life was at its hardest. Larry turned to Connie, who had been silently watching the exchange. "Connie, I'm so sorry. I know how hard this must be for you, but you don't have to do this alone. We're all in this together." Connie, her eyes welling up, nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Larry. I don't know what I would have done without you today." As the hours passed, Larry stayed by their side, offering comfort, prayers, and gentle words. She knew that sometimes healing wasn't just about physical recovery. It was about the emotional strength that people could give each other in times of crisis. The twins, Charlie and Lucy, slowly began to stabilize, and though their future was still uncertain, the hope that filled the room was undeniable. Larry, Connie, and Larry stood together, united by the love they shared for the children and the understanding that compassion transcends all boundaries, even in the most difficult of circumstances. As the evening wore on, Larry turned to Larry with a look of quiet gratitude. "You've always been there for me, even when I didn't expect it. I don't know how to thank you." Larry smiled softly, her eyes filled with a deep knowing. "You don't have to thank me, Larry. Love never ends. It simply changes, but it never goes away." And in that moment, surrounded by the hum of hospital machines and the quiet whispers of a family that was learning to navigate the storm, they all realized something profound. There was always space for love and compassion, no matter what form it took, no matter how much time had passed. It was the force that could heal, bring peace, and remind them all that they were never truly alone. However, Linda tightened her grip on the steering wheel as she glanced at the clock. 4:30 a.m. She had already been driving for 6 hours, but the excitement in her heart kept her wide awake. For years, she had followed Larry Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, on TV. Today, she was finally going to meet her. 12 hours earlier, Linda had kissed her daughter goodbye and set off from Ohio, determined to reach Long Island by morning. She had lost her husband, Mark, 2 years ago, and since then, the pain of his absence had been unbearable. No matter how much she tried to move on, she felt like a part of her had been ripped away. When she heard that Theresa was holding a live event in New York, she knew she had to go. It wasn't just about curiosity. She needed answers. She needed to know if Mark was still watching over her. As the miles stretched on, she thought about their life together. The Sunday morning pancakes, the way he used to surprise her with little notes, the silly inside jokes only they understood. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. "I just need a sign," she whispered. Finally, she reached the venue. Exhausted but determined, she walked inside, clutching her ticket. The room buzzed with anticipation as Theresa stepped onto the stage, her signature blonde hair as striking as ever. Midway through the session, Theresa paused and looked around. "I'm getting a message from a man who passed unexpectedly," she said. Linda's heart pounded. "He's saying something about a road trip and pancakes." Theresa's eyes locked onto Linda's. "Did he use to make breakfast for you?" Linda gasped. "Yes, Mark did." Theresa smiled. "He wants you to know he's still with you. He saw your long drive here, and he's proud of you. He's been leaving you little signs. Have you found a note recently?" Linda covered her mouth in shock. Just yesterday, she had found an old note tucked in a book, one of Mark's little love messages. At that moment, Linda knew. The trip, the exhaustion, it had all been worth it. Mark was still with her, and she finally felt at peace. As she drove back home, the sunrise painted the sky with golden hues, and for the first time in 2 years, Linda felt light. She had her sign. However, snowflakes drifted gently outside Larry Caputo's window as she adjusted the twinkling lights on her Christmas tree. The scent of freshly baked cookies filled the air, mingling with the warmth of the crackling fireplace. It was the holiday season, a time for love, laughter, and, if you were Larry Caputo, the occasional unexpected visitor from beyond. This year, Theresa had agreed to do a special holiday reading for a family who had lost their grandmother, Eleanor, just before Christmas last year. They were hesitant but hopeful that Theresa could bring them some peace. As soon as they arrived, Theresa felt the energy shift. She closed her eyes and let the spirit world connect with her. "I'm feeling a strong presence," she said, her signature Long Island accent carrying warmth. She's saying she loved the holidays, especially baking cookies. Did she always make gingerbread houses? Tears welled up in the eyes of Eleanor's granddaughter, Sophie. "Yes, every year. She made one for each of us. We haven't made one since she passed." Theresa smiled. "Well, honey, she's telling me you need to start again. She's here, she's watching, and she's saying, don't be skippy on the frosting." The room filled with laughter, and Sophie's mother wiped away a tear. "That sounds just like her." Theresa continued, delivering messages of love, warmth, and holiday cheer from Eleanor. By the end of the session, the family felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. As they left, Theresa watched them go, knowing she had helped them feel their grandmother's presence once more. She turned back to her Christmas tree, smiled, and whispered, "Making spirits bright," literally. And with that, the lights on the tree flickered ever so slightly, as if Eleanor herself was sending a little holiday magic from the other side. However, Kelsey Grammer sat quietly in the dimly lit room, his hands clasped together. He wasn't sure why he'd agreed to this, but something deep inside him urged him to come. Across from him, Larry Caputo, the Long Island medium, adjusted her bracelets and smiled warmly. "Okay, honey, I gotta tell ya, the energy in here is strong," she said, flipping her blonde hair back. "There's someone, oh wow, someone really close to you. They've been waiting to talk to you." Kelsey swallowed hard. He had lost so many loved ones, his father, his sister, and his 2 half-brothers. Tragedy had followed him like a shadow, but he had learned to carry his grief with grace. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment. "Your sister. Karen, she's here." Kelsey's breath hitched. He hadn't spoken her name aloud in years. "She's showing me. A young girl, full of life, so much laughter. She says she's sorry she left so soon, but she never really left you." Tears welled up in Kelsey's eyes. "I miss her every day." Theresa nodded. "She knows. She's saying she watches over you, especially when you're alone, when you think no one sees your pain." Kelsey wiped his eyes. "I've always wondered if she was at peace." Theresa's voice softened. "Oh, honey, she is. And she wants you to be too. She's showing me something. Music? Do you play something?" Kelsey let out a small chuckle through his tears. "The piano. She always loved hearing me play." Theresa smiled. "She says, 'Play for me, Kelsey.' She hears it every time." The room fell silent for a moment. Kelsey let out a deep breath, feeling a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "Thank you," he whispered. Theresa reached across and squeezed his hand. "She's always with you, sweetheart, always." As Kelsey left the session, he felt lighter. That night, he sat at his piano, closed his eyes, and played, not for himself, but for Karen. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. However, Michael had never believed in psychics. A retired firefighter, he was a man of logic, facts, and tangible evidence. So when his daughter, Emily, invited him to a group reading with Larry Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, he scoffed. "Come on, Dad, just keep an open mind," Emily pleaded. "I don't need a stranger to tell me what I already know," Michael grumbled, but he loved his daughter too much to say no. The day of the reading, Michael sat in the back, arms crossed, watching as Theresa moved through the room, delivering messages from the other side. He resisted the urge to roll his eyes until she stopped suddenly and turned to him. "Michael," she said, tilting her head as if listening to someone only she could hear. "There's a strong presence around you. A man in uniform. A firefighter?" Michael stiffened. His best friend and fellow firefighter, Tommy, had died in a blaze nearly 20 years ago. He never spoke about it. Theresa continued, "He's showing me a medal, but he says you never accepted it." Michael's breath caught in his throat. The department had tried to give him an award for bravery after Tommy's death, but he had refused it, blaming himself for not being able to save his friend. Tears welled up in his eyes as Theresa's voice softened. "He says, it wasn't your fault, Mike. You did everything you could." Michael swallowed hard. For years, he had carried that guilt like a heavy chain around his neck. Now, for the first time, he felt something shift, something lighter, freer. As the session ended, Emily squeezed his hand. "Dad?" Michael took a deep breath, his skepticism shaken to its core. Maybe, just maybe, there were things in this world he couldn't. For the first time in decades, he allowed himself to believe. However, once in a quiet suburban town on Long Island, a man named John had always prided himself on being a skeptic. He had no patience for things he couldn't see or touch. Ghosts, spirits, and mediums, he considered them all to be nothing more than tricks. But fate had a different plan for him. It all started when John's best friend Mark convinced him to attend a public reading by Larry Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium. Mark had been to one of her sessions before and was thoroughly impressed. John, however, was reluctant, rolling his eyes at the idea of paying to see someone who claimed to speak to the dead. But Mark insisted, saying it might be a fun experience. "Fine," John grumbled, "but I'm telling you, I'm not buying into any of this." The day of the event arrived, and the venue was buzzing with excitement. People were eager to hear from their loved ones who had passed. John sat in the back, arms crossed, his skepticism radiating through the room. Theresa, with her signature blonde hair and warm smile, walked onto the stage, and the crowd erupted into applause. Let's see what all the fuss is about, John muttered under his breath. Theresa's gift was undeniable. She began delivering messages to people in the audience, telling them things only they would know: names, dates, personal memories, details that couldn't possibly be guessed. John couldn't help but be intrigued, though he remained doubtful. Then, Theresa's eyes locked onto him. "You, sir," she said, pointing directly at John, her voice filled with certainty. "I feel a presence standing right beside you." John stiffened. His heart raced. He glanced around, unsure if she was truly talking to him. "Who are you here for?" she asked gently, walking closer to him. John hesitated but then spoke. "I'm just here with my friend." Theresa smiled softly, as if she already knew what he was thinking. "I know you're skeptical, but I'm telling you, there's someone here, and they have a message for you." The crowd fell silent. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, her face softening with empathy. "This person, they want to say they're sorry. They regret not being there when you needed them. They were distant, and they know they hurt you. But they want you to know they love you, and they are at peace now." John felt a lump form in his throat. He knew exactly who she was talking about. His estranged father, who had passed away years ago, never had the chance to reconcile with him. The anger he had held onto all these years now bubbled to the surface. He had always blamed his father for abandoning him and never apologizing. Theresa continued, her voice gentle but insistent. "Your father, he's here, John. He wants you to let go of the anger, to find peace within yourself. He's proud of you." The room seemed to close in around him as the weight of the words settled in. Theresa's voice softened as she added, "He's asking for forgiveness, and he's telling me you've been carrying this burden for far too long." Tears welled up in John's eyes as his heart broke open. For the first time in years, he felt a weight lift off him, a mix of grief and relief. How did she know? How could she possibly know the things that no one else knew? I never thought I'd get an apology from him," John whispered, his voice trembling. Theresa smiled, her expression filled with compassion. "You've been holding on to that hurt for so long. It's time to heal." The moment felt surreal. The skepticism that had defined John for so long now seemed so insignificant in the face of something so real, so undeniable. In that moment, John realized that there was much more to the world than he had ever imagined. As the reading ended, John stood up, his mind racing with a newfound belief. He approached Theresa, still in awe. "I don't know how you did it," he said, his voice cracking. "But I think I believe now." Theresa gave him a warm hug. "It's not about believing in me. It's about believing that love never dies, and that our loved ones are always with us." John left the event that night a changed man, his heart lighter, his mind open to the possibility of something beyond the tangible. For the first time in years, he felt at peace, knowing that his father's love would always be with him, no matter where he was. And just like that, Larry Caputo had turned a skeptic into a believer. Hello lovely viewers, welcome to my channel. I am Mina, hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.